What is going on with this housing market? Is it going to crash or are prices just going to increase forever? Welcome to the monthly housing report for May 2021. I'm Erik Braceland with Braceland Homes, where we guarantee the sale and or purchase of your home, or we'll buy that home ourselves. For the next few minutes, I'm going to provide you the insights that you need to confidently make decisions associated with your real estate goals, whatever those might be. There's a lot going on right now, and we'll start right here with a quote from Freddie Mac. It comes from Sam Khater, and he says this: driver of the housing shortfall has been the long-term decline in the construction of single-family homes. That decline has resulted in the decrease and the supply of entry-level single-family homes or starter homes. Probably no bigger issue right now that we need to be talking about than the lack of available inventory across the country. Let's talk about that for just a minute. The census released this information. Look at single-family housing units completed by decade, and you see the deficit over the last decade between 2010 and 2019, where just 6.5 million homes were completed in this country. Whereas the other 4 previous decades, only one of those was barely under 10 million homes. So significantly fewer homes in the market, or brought to market, I should say, than what we've seen in the past. And simply right now, the amount of housing in this country is not keeping up with population growth. A lot of this is because of the hangover from the housing crash back in 2008 and builders being hit hard there. I was having this conversation just the other day with someone. They had just sold their home and they brought it up and were concerned we're going to see a crash. And that topic of crash is what a lot of people are talking about. Google reported that just a couple of weeks ago that the search question, when is the housing market going to crash, spiked almost 2,500% in the past month. So a lot of people talking about that, a lot of people, wondering, is this like the last time? I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I will do another video on that soon. So for now, I'll just tell you we don't expect a crash in U.S. real estate because this time we're not dealing with an issue in the housing market like we were during the last crash. We're only dealing with a lack of supply, and I am going to talk a little more about that. But first, please let me know if you're enjoying these insights and hit that like button. Any questions on this? Just enter them into the comments section, which is down there below the viewing window. All right, let's get back to it. Let's talk about inventory. This is a picture of the year-over-year change in listings. New listings represented by the green bar, you see that coming up right there. Just be careful how much of that you believe. Total listings, and this is the important indicator here, there in the orange, now turning red bar, are down 53% across the country. Now let's talk about the year-over-year change in listings. Let's talk about why they're spiking up right now. This is a look at listings as compared to this time last year. And so what was happening this time last year? Everybody was pulling their homes off the market when we were in lockdown during the pandemic. And so of course we see a spike in the change in listings this year as compared to those last year. So a reason for that, if you look right now, week over week inventory listings, we're starting to hear a little about inventory starting to increase a little bit across the country as we're here in the spring. But don't be fooled by some headlines that may come out and show some pretty amazing jumps in different metrics that compare to this time last year. Because of what we were going through in this country due to the pandemic and the lockdown across the country, you're going to see some of that. Take a deeper look as you see and hear those things. All right, what normally is happening during this time of year with inventory is we're starting to gradually increase. So if we look at 2020 as compared to 2021, starting off in December of the prior year, 2019, you see this growth of about 100,000 listings in the first quarter of the year. And what happened this year? We've stayed relatively the same, just 10 to 20,000 listings added over these 3 months as we've gone into the new year and started to go into the spring market. So typically we see more people saying, okay, the spring, we're going to see more homes on the market, inventory is growing, and we're certainly coming out of the pandemic. Maybe more people feeling confident about selling their homes, but we still want to see that come back to market. And we just haven't seen those people put those listings on the market as of yet. The National Association of Realtors just came out with this. Demand remains strong as home buyers are snatching listings quickly off the MLS, and it takes approximately 18 days for a home to go from listing to a contract in the current housing market. A year ago, it took 29 days. Listen, 29 days is a quick turnaround. 18 is even faster, and we're in a fast moving market. If you're here in San Diego or one of the other really hot markets around the country, it's even faster. So at this point, we all know how quickly homes come on the market. They are purchased even quicker. So the velocity of the market is there. We just don't have time for those homes to become inventory in the market across the country. So I want to continue to remind you things are moving fast. We're getting a look at that from Pulsenomics, and they say this. 43% of the economists they surveyed said the US housing market will grow in the second half of the year when folks feel more confident about going out and maybe having people in their homes. Builders are building more, certainly seeing headwinds on the rising cost of the lumber, the rising cost of supplies, and those that have put off putting their homes on the market. All those things are coming together to bring more inventory back into the market. Economists certainly saying we're going to see that in the second half of the year. What we want to start talking about right now as we look to the second half of the year and realize the market we're in is why would people want to sell right now? NAR came out with a study and did a little bit of a deeper dive look at that. Top 5 reasons why homeowners plan to sell this year. 1. The home no longer meets our needs. This demonstrates that the needs we had in a home have changed. It's now the central point of our lives, and there's a lot of needs there. We want something that will meet those needs going forward. 2. We can make a profit in the current market. This is filed under the "we can sell our home for what?" category. Right now, a lot of people are saying this may be the time to sell, given where the market's at. 3. We want a smaller house, less work. Homeowners want something that they can maintain a lot easier. And 4, we want to live closer to friends and family. No doubt a byproduct of the pandemic, our relationships with others have just become so much more important and dear to us because of what folks have endured during this time. Number 5, we want different features and amenities. So many people are thinking, there are things in a home right now we want given the last year. Are there certain features and or amenities that I want or even need moving forward? Can our current living habitat be modified to fit the bill? If so, is it economical to do so, or would it make more sense to move somewhere that has more of what we're looking for? The other things that are very, very apparent right now is that the attitude towards owning a home has started to shift in this country. And I want to talk about this for a minute because it's an important trend we want to take a look at. This is from the National Association of Home Builders. Prospective homebuyers planning to buy a home in the next 12 months. 16% of American adults are considering the purchase of a home in the next 12 months, according to NAHB's housing trend reports for the first quarter. So what you see there is the first quarter of 2020, about 10% of folks saying they're planning on buying a home, jumping up to 16% by the beginning of first quarter of this year. What does that mean? The attitude towards owning a home and buying a home has shifted during the pandemic. It's very interesting, and you don't want to miss this. Coming out of the last downturn of 2008, people spoke after it about whether buying a home was still the American dream. And you remember a lot of those conversations, with people losing their money in their home. Do we want to go out and do that again? Is that a wise investment? Maybe people will rent, maybe they'll decide to do something else, and maybe owning a home is not the American dream. Well, today, coming out of the pandemic, there's very clear signs that owning a home and home ownership, all the things that means to people, both tangible and intangible, has dramatically changed people's views on home ownership. We're seeing more and more people want to own a home. And I think there's a lot of that that's due to the home being the epicenter of our lives for the last year, where we went to school, where we worked out, where we ate, where we spent more time with our families. Certainly as we come out of this, I don't think that's going to be the situation forever. But right now, folks are saying that's important to us, and we want to own a home for those very reasons. So right now, people are buying, and if you are, we certainly need more people to sell their homes. The average profit for a home seller increased 26% over the last year. The average was over $55,000 in 2020 and climbed to just over $70,000 in the first quarter of 2021. A big jump there in the average profit. So I think the question right now is, 1, are you thinking about selling your home? And 2, do you know how much equity you have in your home? The real message here, and you've heard me refer to it earlier, is it's not a bubble. It's simply a lack of supply. This came from a quote from Lawrence Yun. And I want to be very vocal about this right now because a lot of people, we talked about the Google study, think this is a bubble when it's really just supply and demand at work. Anytime there are fewer of an item on the market, it's going to keep that upward pressure on prices. And what we're seeing right now across the country. In just a minute, I'm going to get into forecasting what experts are saying about prices coming up and what's going to be important as we turn the corner into the second half of the year. But remember, it's a lack of supply in the market versus anything else interacting right now. And certainly we're seeing a lot of frenzy in the market. One of the things we want to talk about, keep you up to date on, is a forbearance update. I want to give you a kind of snapshot of that. There's good information coming out for those that are in forbearance. And I think this is a topic we will continue to talk about. There will be those that are affected by forbearance, and we want to help those folks. The number of active mortgages in forbearance has been unchanged for the last several weeks, but if we go back to May of last year, we're seeing this drop in the number of those that are in forbearance. It's a good thing. Over the last 2 months, 400,000 people have left forbearance. It has kind of quietly happened without a lot of talk about it, but homeowners are coming off of forbearance. Remember, you could do the initial 180 days, apply for an extension for 360 days. So we're a year later now and expect more people to roll off of the forbearance. Now, the big question is what's happening to those that are in forbearance? And there's a lot of things being thrown around and people wondering, is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau doing something, or are there other things that are going to be done to push foreclosures out even further? A lot of that is still pending, and I'm not going to comment on that. Pending legislation, but I'll keep you apprised of the changes. Upon exit of forbearance plan, over 47% of borrowers that came out are paying off those missed payments in full. Now this, as of the middle of April, 36.5% have worked out some sort of repayment plan. You know, again, banks not wanting to, if they can help it, take those homes back. 16.2% are still in trouble. Let's look at this over time because that is really the question. So this goes all the way back to the start of the year. The green section of the pie started out at 52%. Now we're at 47%. So it seems like a slow decrease in those that are coming off forbearance that are paid in full. Sort of to be expected as we go on to see that decrease. We've seen an increase though of those that are working out a plan on the blue bar, which starts out at 32.5% and ends up at 36.5%. What stayed relatively unchanged and is just a single percentage point are those that are still in trouble. So what we're seeing is less that are paid in full, more folks getting a workout plan, and staying relatively flat on those that are in trouble. We're going to continue to watch this because I think it's important. And it's important that we continue to talk about this with those of you that may need to sell your home. If this issue has you worried, just give us a call so we can help you get things sorted. You know, Rick Sharga from Realty Track said this, and I think it's very interesting. So I think the math speaks for itself how well the forbearance program has worked. It's one of the few times in my career I've seen a government-initiated program adopted as well and executed as well by the industry as this one. You know, I think this is evident in the fact that we don't have a glut of foreclosures right now. So more information comes up on this, I'm going to bring it to you. And we're going to give you everything that you need to do to keep your investments safe. One last thing I'll say overall about the economy improving was what the Wall Street Journal recently reported on. Consumers were more upbeat about their income prospects last month, and many appear eager to spend. The survey found 8.9% of Americans plan to buy a home in the next 6 months, the biggest share in records going back to 1978. A little bit different from the National Association of Home Builders study that we saw, but still a lot of people saying we want to go out and buy a home. A lot of people optimistic about spending and the economy improving. Expect to see more and more of that as we go through the next few months. You know, in the downturn during the housing crash, it took about 9 years for the economy to fix unemployment and all the things that go with that. We're looking at seeing something there in just over a year, returning back to a very, very robust economy. Let's talk about what's on the horizon, where we are right now, and what experts are saying in the forecasts that they're making. Mortgage rates right now, this is an important story. You know, we ticked up about above 3%. We sit right now just below 3% on the average 30-year fixed home loan. Since the dramatic fall last year, we still have very, very good long-term financing for those looking to take out a mortgage. The other thing that we have to keep in mind with mortgage rate projections are that they'll go up. And I'm not here today to make a projection exactly where they're going to go or when, but I think it's safe to say it's just a matter of time when they're going to go up and by how much. Okay, I'm not saying we're going to be at 3%. I'm not saying we're going to be at 3.25%. We're going to be somewhere in between. But we are going to go up as the economy improves. You can certainly look for that. The interesting thing as we start to talk about rates is not only where we stand today, just under 3% on the average 30-year fixed, but also where we're going. You know this right now. This red bar represents right where we're at and where we are projected to go by Freddie Mac. And you can see here on this downward slide in 2018, 2019, and the slide in 2020 last year, we're still in a very, very good spot for those looking to take out a mortgage. This is something I want you to understand and think about as you make your purchase or sale plans. You know, we started off this monthly housing report talking about the lack of supplies pushing home prices up. We're seeing home price forecasts come out, and just about everybody that forecasts prices at the beginning of the year has adjusted their forecast and adjusted up in what they're saying is going to happen this year. The average of all forecasts are 6.8% home price appreciation this year. Really good. And expect that to continue on as we see this lack of supply across the country. You know, the middle or average here, 6 to 7% appreciation is very healthy appreciation. Going into this year is that forecasters are projecting more homes will be sold this year than last year. If we look at Fannie, Freddie, and Mortgage Bankers Association, we look at what was sold last year. Well, last year in this country, 6.5 million homes sold across the country. This year, 7 million homes are predicted to sell. So if you're asking yourself, will the market sustain itself? It appears the experts agree that it will not only sustain, but actually grow through the next year. I want to wrap up on this quote that we have from a legendary Japanese swordsman. Perception is strong and sight is weak. Perception is strong and sight is weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and take a distance view of close things. There's a lot of things in our lives right now that are very, very close to us. And there's also a distance view that we need to look at. I think we're all going to have a better year this year. And as we turn the corner, experts are saying more housing inventory is coming back to market. But if we get caught up in everything happening right here in front of us, we may miss what's coming. And the question is, right now, are you prepared for what's coming? Are you prepared to make your move? I think being in that spot, the spot where you are prepared to take action, is the right place to be. And listening to what is being forecasted for the second half of the year, what is being forecasted for the summer, so that you're adequately prepared. As always, on the monthly housing report, I want to let you know what's coming up. Our 2021 summer buyer and seller guides are coming out in June. Great tools for you if you are maybe considering buying or selling a home soon. They've been rewritten and I'm just finishing the final updates. They have been updated with current market information so that you can always be educated and ready to go. Have you put off doing something relative to selling your home, thinking about buying a home? A lot of you going, okay, is this the time we want to buy? So 2 great resources available to help you accomplish your real estate goals, whatever those happen to be. Happy to supply these to you free of charge. Just give me a call or shoot me a text. So for this monthly housing market report for May, grateful for the time you invested in watching this. Grateful for the time that you spend to be aware of what's happening in this market. If you've enjoyed this content or found it helpful, please like and or comment on it to help others find it and benefit from it. If you have a question, please also type that in the comments section so I can get you the information you're looking for. So there's a lot happening in the housing market right now. I'll continue to bring the latest insights to you and we'll see you right back here next month. Take care.